Welcome back to the Untouchaballs podcast. Caden and Leo here. Caden, how you doing today?
Doing great, Max, because the NFL offseason's finally starting to kick into gear. We got the combine coming up this week, so we're starting to get going on the next year of NFL
It
football.
is so exciting. Finally, Caden, we had that couple week drought, February, the longing of some football action. But like you said, this Thursday, the NFL combine starts. And today, Caden, we are going to give the fans three of the people each we are, excited or expecting to have good performances within this combine. So, Caden, take it away.
Yeah, the first dude I want to talk about here is a quarterback from Syracuse, Kyle McCord. He is he probably improved his draft stock the most out of any quarterback this season. Where at Ohio State, wasn't bad, wasn't great. And then he gets to Syracuse this year and has a career year. Threw for almost 4,800 yards, 34 touchdowns, 12 picks. They were able to take down a top team in Miami too, where he shined in that game. Like, he looked awesome. It's gonna like he's got a good size, 6'3", 220.
Yeah.
So I just kind of want to see how he performs at the combine in front of all these scouts and everything. Like, I think he's not one of these top. I mean, it's not a great quarterback class by any means, and he's not one of these top ones. But I want to see how he can perform here and to see if he can improve his stock even more. Because before this year,
Sure.
if he was to get drafted, it was probably going to be a very late day 3 pick. Now, I don't know if he'll sneak into day 2, but he could be a third, probably more like a 4th round type pick, where he's got the tangibles, he's got the arm strength. I just want to see how he performs based on all the calculations, more measurements, hand size, all sorts of stuff you want to see in a quarterback. I want to see how he can do in front of everything.
Correct, Caden. And like you said, that transfer move was very beneficial for him. Speaking of, the team that he transferred from, I think that quarterback Will Howard, who, kind of filled that role with Ohio State and ultimately led them to a national championship this year, could potentially be almost like the J.J. McCarthy type player of this draft, right? The quarterback of a national championship team. I didn't think J.J. McCarthy was particularly the caliber of those upper echelon quarterbacks.
He was not worth the 1st round pick.
And that's kind of where I think that based upon that, if J.J. McCarthy was able to be selected, I don't see a reason why Will Howard isn't of that caliber. I think he's a better quarterback. I think he's a winner. I think he's got, the clutch gene cane. I think he's got all the things you want to see in a quarterback. And I think he's a player that if you are a team who, maybe sits him for a year, has a good veteran, I don't know, Caden scenarios, you think, players aging out the door. But I think that would be a good situation for him. And depending on how he performs at this combine, I think he could definitely increase his draft stock, just with, maybe he has a little better 40 time than they're expecting or something, of those random sorts that people love to boost up during combine season, something like that. Or even I think he has a potential to have a really good showcasing at a pro day or just some throws during this combine period that are going to attract more eyes in his direction.
Yeah, I think, Will Howard, you hit that on. You saw it with J.J. McCarthy. They win the national championship, and somehow he goes 12 overall. I don't see any world where Will Howard goes in the 1st round.
I don't think so.
But, yeah, he led Ohio State to a national championship. We saw him look amazing against all the top defenses in college football.
Correct.
Except he had that bad game against Michigan. Other than that,
which
he was
propelled them into the national championship, though.
Throughout the entire playoffs, it looked incredible against Oregon. Threw for over 200 yards in that 1st quarter, and they were one of the top defense. Didn't look as good, but looked really good against Texas as well. And then in the national championship against Notre Dame, which is also one of these top defenses, was able to just look great there too.
Correct.
They had obviously a great receiving room with a bunch of guys who were going to be drafted and just obviously a true freshman in Jeremiah Smith. But it looks like he has the tangibles that are going to be able to translate to the next level.
Most definitely.
Next thing I do want to talk about here is, a little homer. It's Matthew Golden of the Texas Longhorns because, he's got size. He's 6 foot tall, 195. Had a great year, kind of breakout year with Texas. Everyone thought when Isaiah Bond transferred over from Alabama, he was going to be the true number 1 speedster down the field, making big play after big play. Well, he had a good season. Matthew Golden was by far the number 1 target and number 1 receiver for this Longhorns team in Quinn Ewers, where he set a career high in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. He went 58 for 987 and 9 tuds. And you just saw it throughout the entire season and throughout the playoffs when this Texas team needed a big play, they went to him, and he was able to make the big play. He was great in the jump ball scenarios. He has the speed. Like, that's the one thing I want to see. I want to see how he tests in the 40 time,
For
where
sure.
I don't think he's going to have this lightning type speed. I've seen kind of some comparisons to Jordan Addison, where everyone really loved him coming out of USC, and then his 40 time was about a 4.5, where, I mean, it didn't end up really hurting his draft stock. Still went round one. I don't think Golden's a round one receiver, but if he can get around a 4.4 ish 40, I really think he'd be a day two type pick for a team looking for a nice receiver. Where I don't know if he's going to be a number one in the NFL, but I think he has the tangibles to really be a solid number two, kind of like Addison in Minnesota, where you're a good number 2 year star wide receiver, a great complementary piece where he has the hands, he can win the jump balls down the field, and his route running, I think, is one of the better out of the receivers in this class.
Caden, I really like that you brought up this pick because I think this is a player that kind of could get a little overshadowed with just how deep this wide
Yep.
receiver class is. Because there are some studs in this wide receiver class, Caden. And continuing with the path of wide receiver and, kind of like the teams we've talked on all year, Colorado wide receiver Jimmy Horn Jr. did receive a combine invite, Caden. And he's one of the players who had, I think as a season, he definitely didn't perform up to where he thought, and I think many others within Colorado thought he would, and particularly because I think part of that reason was injuries. Just the time he missed on the field and getting connection with Shador Sanders. But when he's healthy, when he's catching balls, kid, he is a fierce player. We've seen him, be able to go for 3 receptions, 100 yards like that. Yep. Take one play, 50 yards to the crib like that, based on his route running ability. And I almost want to compare him to almost like a Jerry Jeudy type of player.
Okay.
Right? You get him in the slot, you get him moving. He can catch the ball, but then his breakaway speed, his yards after catch is what makes him such a dynamic player. Not only that, his route running ability. I think Jimmy Horn could run every single route within, the book. And I think having the combine would give him a chance to showcase that and maybe put more people on notice that weren't particularly, looking at him as a day two, day three kind of wide receiver, Caden. And I think, like you said, being a wide receiver too, I see him definitely as that wide receiver 2, 3 type player within the league. Let him develop, but within a year or two, he could be a force and definitely a upper echelon tier, top 32 wide receiver in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a good bit of CU football this year, mostly because of this podcast, and obviously you being a big CU guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jimmy Horn, he seems like he's going to be a great fit in the slot for one of these teams. I like the Jerry Jeudy comparison, where it's not like he's going to be like a big play down the field where there'll be like air yards.
Yeah.
But he has the yak ability.
Correct.
Where he's going to be able to, he has the speed, the acceleration, where he's going to be able to get down the field after the catch, make a guy miss or two. And yeah, I think, like you're saying, good day two, end of day two, start of day three pick, where you find a good team that has already a pretty good established wide receiver.
Yes.
Get him in the slot as like that wide receiver 3 type player. I think he could have a very productive career in that role.
Yeah, get him with a veteran, get him with someone who knows the game, knows how to give him proper advice. I think, he's got such a good character, such a good personality, and a deep story of where he's become that he'll fit in any locker room.
Yeah, for sure. Last guy I want to mention here is the first, again, non-power 4 guy. I think we're going to get in more into this as we get closer to the draft.
For sure.
This is a guy I have ranked as probably the number 3 tight end in the class. It's Harold Fanny Jr. from Bowling Green. So,
amazing year.
So obviously a MAC player, you're not playing the greatest competition, but what he's been able to do throughout his only 3-year career is great. I mean, he's 6'4", 230, so he's got some size, got some weight to him.
Yep.
And then just this year, he was as the number 1 target there as a tight end, 117 catches for 1,500 yards and 10 tutties. And I mean, they even ran the ball with him a little bit for 65 yards and a tutty as well there. So he seems like a very well, like, he's not going to be one of the bigger tight ends. Like, you're not seeing 6'6", 250 out of him. But he has great size in 6'4", 230. He has really good hands. He's able to make the plays, not let people tackle him easily. Kind of like with Matthew Golden, I want to see what his 40 times is going to be. I want to see what he can clock in as how fast he really is. Because I mean, we didn't really be able to see it much against this weaker competition in the MAC, where he looks like a man amongst boys there. But when we see against true other NFL caliber players, what are we going to see with him being able to like compare to like a Colson Loveland, Tyler Warren, Gunnar Helm, those type of tight ends.
And it's really exciting, Caden, because like you said, he also at 6'4", he's got room to add 5 to 10 to 15 pounds
Oh
of
yeah,
muscle. And I think within the NFL system, they're going to give him a better diet, better nutrition, different weight programs. He's going to be able to get stronger and build on more adult weight as he grows older, as he gains more experience. And it's going to be very exciting, like you see, how much he puts up measurables, jumping wise, strength wise, things of that such. And that's what makes the combine so exciting, because if he really puts up a good performance in bench or something, proves that at 6'4" he can still block and do the things you need out of a tight end, he can most definitely raise a stock.
yeah, and I mean he's only 20 years old. He's gonna be
Correct.
21 at the start of the season. He doesn't turn 21 until July, so the middle of the year. So he'll be 21 for the entirety of his rookie season, where very young. He's got room to develop, like you're saying, in the NFL system. They're going to be able to put him on a great weight program, great diet. Yeah, he could get up to that 6'4", 240, 245 range and just be a unit at the
And
tight end
who
position.
knows? He might have another inch or two left to grow in him. I'm not sure exactly, how much.
That'd be
he can
something.
grow, but at still 20 years old, he's still got a possibility here.
It definitely has a possibility. I just think he's a really good tight end who a lot of people, I mean, obviously people big into college football and the NFL draft know about Harold Fant. I think a lot of the casual type fans won't know. Like they know the top names. They know Tyler Warren. They'll know Colson Loveland.
Yeah.
But they don't know Harold Fant. And he went to Bowling Green. No one really cares about the MAC unless you love watching your nice Tuesday and Wednesday night college football like we do. But I think he's one of these. It's a really deep tight end class this year, but I think he's more towards the top of this for sure.
And it's going to be exciting to see, Caden. And you love seeing these lower tier players, because if you can ball, if you can play, the scouts are going to find you. The NFL will find you. We've seen it so many times over the year. And I think, he's one of these next players to break out.
For sure. I really like it.
And Caden, finishing off with a player in another, I think, position that's extremely deep in this class is running back.
Oh, yeah.
Running back is going to be super stacked, and one of the players I feel is getting super overlooked, super overshadowed. One I've mentioned how much I've loved watching him play is R.J. Harvey, coming out of the University of Central Florida. His pass catching abilities, route running ability. He's a little stout, right? He's not the biggest back, but I'm hoping to see his 40 time and
he is fast
catching ability, and I think that's what's going to help boost his stock, Caden, or help put him on the radar. And exactly like that 40, he cracks a pretty good time. I don't know what his training regimen has been like over these last couple months since the season's ended, but I expect him to come out looking sharp, looking crisp on his breaks, and having quality footwork, patience. What he's shown at the University of Florida, being able to put up consistent numbers back-to-back years as a 1,000-yard back.
Yeah, I mean, this, like you said, this is a very deep running back class. Definitely one of these better running back class that we've seen in recent years.
Oh, yeah.
Like last year's wasn't great. I mean, we saw Jonathan Brooks go in the second round to the Panthers, and then I think the next running back draft after that wasn't until the fourth round. Like it was a weak running back class last year, and now we're getting a very deep one. Obviously, we have your top talent, Genty, Judkins, Dylan Sampson.
Oh, it's such a deep.
Caleb Johnson from Iowa.
Cam Scatterbo.
And then, yes, you have R.J. Harvey from UCF. Devin Neal from Kent. It's a great running back class. And then, yes, you have R.J. Harvey from UCF, where the team itself is not great, but he is great. And we see it now, especially this past year, as they moved up to the Big 12. You're seeing them against a Power 4 schedule against a lot of these bigger teams, and he's just producing against them. He's looking great, like I said, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. He has the speed, and it's going to be good to see like what he can do with his hands, how he can look in the pass game, because he could be a good fit on a team as a speedster type receiving back out of the backfield.
Most definitely, Caden. And I see him, I'm not going to say it. I was going to give him a comparison. I'm not going to give that comparison. Yeah, I'll keep that to myself until later. But ultimately, I'm super excited for this combine, King, because like you said, you have so much depth in a lot of different positions. And this is potentially a way to filter out and sort out those top-tier talents. If you're teetering between, an S-tier to A-tier type player, and you have really good combine numbers, that could help boost you up, at least in the eyes of, GMs and scouts and people who are going to be selecting you in the combine.
And obviously the exact opposite if you perform badly there.
Correct.
If you're a lot slower than you think, your measurements don't stack up, you perform poorly.
Correct.
That also, it's a big week for a lot of these players looking for boosting their draft stock. Hopefully not declining it.
It is. It's super exciting, and now that this football time's creeping up, draft time's creeping up, it's going to be really, really fun, kid.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're gonna keep you guys going with everything in the offseason. We're gonna once NFL offseason starts, we're gonna talk about all the free agency stuff, get more to the draft as it gets closer. So yeah, make sure you guys like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Leave a comment about any players we missed, or if you agree with the players we had talked about. And yeah, like this video, share this with a friend, family, stranger, neighbor, anything like that, and turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload.
Most definitely. We thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all next time.